You might be familiar with the problem of needing experience to get a job, but you can't get experience without a job. So you end up being caught in a catch-22 situation. What I'm going to talk about in this video is going to address that problem, because what employers are looking for, if you manage to land yourself an interview and you get through that first stage of having sent your application in, and then they invite you to the interview, they already know what qualifications you've got. So at this point, it's no good when you're in the interview talking about what you could do for the employer or what you would do for the employer, because they're not particularly interested in that at this stage. What they're interested in is what you have done in the past for other employers, potentially. They're interested in what you can demonstrably do for them. And the best way of them assessing that is to ask you about what you have done. And so at that stage, because that's inevitable, those questions are going to be coming at you in the interview. And what you want, ideally, is lots of stories and anecdotes and situations and circumstances that you can talk about that demonstrate to them how you have, in the past, achieved certain positive outcomes with regard to health and safety. You want to talk about your achievements. So you need to be able to provide lots of real world examples. But again, we come back to this problem, don't we, of the fact that, well, if you're new into the industry, you haven't got much experience, you might struggle with this. So how do we get around this problem? How do we deal with this situation? Well, this is what we're going to be going through in this video. What you might have come across is advice that goes along the lines of, well, in order to get the experience, why don't you work for free just to get the work experience? My opinion is that is terrible advice. Nobody will want you to do any work for them for free if they want confidence in the work that you're doing. People don't want free. I know this from personal experience, because in the past, when I was a health and safety consultant, I did, for reasons that I won't go into in this video, but I decided to, just in my local area, offer my consultancy services free of charge. And I got zero response, no response whatsoever, complete lack of any sort of response to that. As soon as I started charging, that's when the phone started ringing. It sends out the wrong signal. When you're saying that you're going to do something for free, you're sending out a weak signal, basically, that you're not valuing yourself. So why on earth would anybody else value you? So don't offer to work for free. Don't even offer to work at a reduced cost, because again, it's sending out a weak signal, because it's basically signaling to people and potential employers that you're so unwilling or unable to compete on anything else other than price. So you're just basically going to say that, well, I can't compete on competence, I can't compete on flexibility, I can't compete on customer service. So what the hell, I'm just going to offer my services at a reduced cost. And potential clients and customers can smell that, and they either won't be interested in working with you, or the only people that will be interested in working with you aren't the kind of people that you should really be working with. What it also does is it devalues the market, because what other providers might then decide to try and undercut you, and then it becomes a race to the bottom, and the quality declines, and the market gets undervalued if that cycle carries on for too long. So don't offer to work for free, don't offer to work for a reduced cost, but start offering your services at full price. So what you might be thinking here is, well, hold on a minute, isn't that what a consultant does? And you might think, well, I'm not ready for that. I'm a newly qualified health and safety person, and I've only just passed my IOSH certificate. I'm not ready to be a consultant, because I thought that consultants had years and years and years in the industry gained all that experience, and when they become really, really experienced, they've got enough clout then to be able to give up their full-time job and then work as a consultant. But that's the wrong way to think about it. Basically, a consultant is somebody that has got services to offer to a client that wants those services. If you have completed the IOSH certificate, you have definitely got some value to offer to the right kind of businesses. Now, obviously, you're not going to be targeting the high hazard sector because they're going to be using specialists and in-house teams. But there are plenty of low or normal hazard businesses and organisations out there that are struggling with health and safety, because a lot of businesses do. They find it difficult to navigate what they perceive as being a complicated and complex area of business, and they want support, or they need support from somebody who can offer what could be a fairly, to you, because you've completed your studies, a fairly basic level of support. If you want further information on what kind of sectors are sort of low hazard and what sectors are regarded as high hazard sectors based on industry data, I'll put a link to that in the description. And it's beyond the scope of this video to cover how to actually generate leads, but we will cover how to generate leads in another video, and how to turn those leads, convert them into actual paying clients. But if you can get 1, 2, 3 or more of these kinds of opportunities coming at you that will allow you to deliver services to the client, improve the client's situation, depends obviously what it's going to be. You might have a client that working in a fairly low hazard sector that just is completely snowed under with other business operations and just wants, for a temporary period of time, some guidance and a steer in the right direction, because they might sensibly want to get their business off to the right start in terms of compliance and health and safety. And that is where you can come in. That is where you can offer your services. You don't have to necessarily worry about competing with much more established consultants, because you should have some belief in yourself that you are able to offer those services at a level that's just as good in terms of quality as much bigger and much more established consultancy firms. It might be helping them to put in place a basic health and safety management system. It might be supporting them with their basic risk assessments, helping them with near-miss investigations, that sort of thing that you're going to be perfectly capable of doing after you've completed and passed your IOSH certificate. You need to be honest, obviously, about what it is that you're going to be competent to do and not do, both with yourself and with the client. I'm not saying you have to go in there on the first meeting and spell out exactly what you can't do, but you can be honest about what you can do and how you can do it. And then you can, if you do happen to find, I can't see it happening, but if you do happen to find yourself in a situation where you're well out of your depth, you're in a high hazard industry at some sort of petrochemical processing plant, and somehow you've found yourself in an operations manager's office pitching for business. I don't know how you'd get there accidentally, because there's plenty of top tier health and safety consultants that are actively trying to get into that situation and can't. So you're not going to find yourself in that situation accidentally. But let's say you do find yourself in a situation where you're not quite sure that you can deliver what the client is asking for. Maybe the client is asking for the wrong thing. That's quite common. And you can then add value to say, well, you might not want risk assessments, is always a classic one. Do all my risk assessments for me, please. That's not good health and safety, is it? So you might say, well, actually, It's not an external person doing your risk assessments for you that's going to improve health and safety in your business. But what you might benefit from is some guidance so you can get your supervisory team trained up to be able to perform risk assessments themselves. And, I can help you do that. Could be that sort of thing. Or you could genuinely think, look, this is not, I'm out of my depth here. I can't offer my services to this client and do what they're asking me to do in all good faith. I'll be operating unethically if I did that. So that's when you say, look, this is outside of my particular area of expertise, and then maybe offer some free advice and guidance about health and safety while you're there, so that you don't risk, coming across as you've just wasted somebody's time. But then just leave it at that and say that, it's outside of my area of expertise. You might need a specialist to help you with that. I can maybe help you find a specialist, that sort of thing. And then turn away from any opportunities that come at you that are outside of your core competencies. What I do advise is looking at the IOSH code of conduct in order to make sure that you're operating against a set of principles that's going to keep you on the sort of ethical straight and narrow. And I'll put a link to the IOSH code of conduct in the description so you can have a look at that. What I also strongly recommend is that you get yourself some professional indemnity insurance. It doesn't cost much, so don't worry about that. It's about £150 to £200 a year, something in that sort of region. This is going to mean that if you give advice to a client, they follow that advice, and then something happens, and then that client says that the incident that happened is because of the advice that you gave, and they try and sue you, you've got insurance then that can cover you. And at this point, what you can do is start working in health and safety. You're working in health and safety as a freelancer, as a consultant, whatever you want to call it, but you're working in health and safety, and you're able then to start gathering this experience that you need to get a job in health and safety. You break the cycle, this perpetual cycle of, well, I need experience to get a job, and I haven't got any, and I can't get any experience because I haven't got a job. You break that cycle, you're able to gain the experience, and at that point you've got options. Gain some experience, and then you've got yourself some things to talk about when the inevitable question arises in an interview situation that asks you to explain what you've done in the past in regards to health and safety. Either that, and that's a good thing. If you're looking for a full-time job in health and safety, you've got an avenue to follow there. But at that point, once you've got a few clients under your belt, you might then decide, well, look, I don't want a full-time job in health and safety, and you can carry on following down the freelance route. Either or, it will be up to you. You've got choices now at that stage. You've opened up the playing field for yourself a little bit, and you're able to operate where you were stuck before because you're in this experience job experience loop. You've broken out of that. You're on the playing field. You're operating, and you're able to open up choices. Able to open up choices for yourself. This is much better as a strategy than just going out there and offering to work for free just so you can get experience, so that maybe then you can use that to get a job. That's not really going to work, in my opinion, not very effective. Do it the way that I've outlined, and you've got something that I think, anyway, has got a real chance of working for you and increasing your chances of getting that job that you want. And as always, if you're job seeking at the moment and you're out of work, keep your chin up, positive mental attitude, and I'll see you in the next video.